Alright YouTube, so Todd Howard did an interview with Geoff Keighly that I completely forgot was even happening today. It was a busy day yesterday. I got up kind of early looking out for the Square Enix showcase, see if there's anything FF7 remake, and this completely skipped my mind somehow. But within this interview, Todd Howard kind of talked about everything a little bit. He did mention that Starfield is actually in production. It is playable. It's something they've been working on for years. And he mentioned that Elder Scrolls 6 is more like in pre-production. You can't really play it right now. He also confirmed that both of those games are, of course, next-gen games. He said that during the Bethesda E3 showcase yesterday, but he further elaborated on that. So these are games we're not going to see until the PlayStation 5 and whatever else, maybe the Xbox 2, I don't know what it would be called. They also kind of talked about how Fallout 76 isn't playable at E3, which I don't think anybody is surprised by. If it was playable, they probably would have said that yesterday. And it kind of makes sense. It is an online-only game, which we are going to get into, so it kind of makes sense there wouldn't just be like a bunch of Xbox Ones or whatever sitting around where you can play this game since you need like internet and everything, and they're probably still working on the servers. And that's what we're here for specifically, is the Fallout 76 stuff. I had some questions yesterday that actually got answered during this interview about the online stuff, about the multiplayer thing, the co-op or whatever it is. So yesterday, Todd Howard told us that Fallout 76 is an online-only game, and they kind of further elaborate in this interview because Geoff Keighly actually asked, can you play offline? And Todd Howard says, no, you cannot. Even if you're playing by yourself solo questing, you will still see players running around the world.
You can play solo, but a lot of people were asking me, it's like, can I play offline?
You cannot. You will see, even if you're playing by yourself doing quests, you will see other players.
Now this is pretty major because this is what a lot of people did not want. They didn't want a fully multiplayer Fallout, but that's exactly what we're getting here. This isn't even necessarily what I wanted. I'm not totally against this game because I think it's pretty cool and I want to see some innovation with the series, but this is exactly what people didn't want. It's pretty much an MMO Fallout, but it's just not a bunch of players. As he said during E3, there's only like dozens of people in one world at a time or on one server, whatever the case, so you're not playing with a crazy amount of people. But still, it's just not what people wanted for this game. Now, he goes on to elaborate on the NPCs. He talked about this during E3, how like every character in the game is another player. Every human is going to be another player, but he does go on to say that there are going to be like robots and holotapes and things like that.
When we say there are no NPCs, okay, so that's one of the big differences that we really leaned on, which is every human, every character you see is a real person. Yeah. But there are still robots and terminals and holotapes.
So what a lot of people were wondering is, since there's no actual like NPCs essentially with this game, how is it going to work with like vendors and traders and things, people you sell your stuff to and you buy stuff from? People were wondering if we could do that amongst our players, but I think at this point it's safe to say that we'll probably just have like robot merchants. Like you'd probably just go up to some robot in some major location and sell them your random shit and buy ammo and stim packs and stuff. So something I kind of want to speculate on with that bit we just watched was whenever he's talking about this, he says every human, and then he catches himself and says every character you see is an actual person. So it makes me want to put on the tinfoil hat and wonder, can we be something other than human? Can we be ghoul, perhaps? Can we be synth? Can we be, I don't know, a super mutant? I doubt that, but still. We already kind of touched on this because, as we just discussed, every human is going to be another player. So what he mentions is where in a normal Fallout game, when you come across a group of raiders, that'll now be a group of actual people, which eliminates raiders completely from the game, which kind of sucks because I kind of like, they're pretty much a staple with the Bethesda Fallout.
But then, as opposed to running into a gang of raiders, those are real players.
I think the idea behind this, since it is a multiplayer game, it's an open world multiplayer, essentially an MMO, we get to choose whether we want to be good guys or bad guys. So we can be the good guy of the Wasteland, or we can be the damn raiders and just kill people and rob them. Like, I think that's a kind of cool concept, honestly. Now, obviously, there can be overkill. There can be griefing, where you have people that just join a server, join a world, and just walk around trying to kill other players. That's all their goal is, all they care about. For example, GTA 5, it's still one of the most played games after 5 years, but with GTA Online, they get a lot of griefers, and that's what turns a lot of people off from playing GTA Online, is because you're trying to do quests, you're trying to level up, you're trying to grind for money in GTA Online, and all people are doing is just blowing you up with jets and rocket launchers. So Geoff Keighly actually asked Todd Howard if it's always PvP, if there's kind of a way to opt out of that, and Todd Howard kind of beats around the bush about this. He says they don't want it to be griefy, but they want there to be a little bit of drama there. There's a way you can do PvP, like, specifically, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. I don't even know what that means. Maybe there's, like, Team Deathmatch in Fallout 76. I'm not entirely sure. But he does say that they are trying to balance the incentives for somebody who wants to play super aggressively against other players and the people who choose to ignore it altogether.
So there's always PvP, like you can never, it's all...
Well, first of all, I'd say we're still dialing that. Okay. We don't want it to be griefy, but we want to have some drama there. Okay. So there is a way that you can decide to do PvP, and we are currently balancing kind of the incentives for someone who wants to be very aggressive to people and those who want to ignore it.
What these incentives could be, I have absolutely no idea. Maybe if you are a bad player, you're the dude that's killing everybody, maybe you get better and more experience that way, better loot that way, or maybe because you are the bad guy, you get less experience, less good loot. I don't exactly know what the incentives would be. But then Todd goes on to further confuse everybody by saying that, again, they don't want it to be griefy, and they'll dial it in to where you can say you don't want to be a part of that, which sounds to me and probably everybody else that you could maybe turn that PvP off, or, you know, you don't die to other players, but then he says that you can't do that exactly, so I don't know what it means.
I would say we don't want it to be griefy in any way, and we'll dial it in so people can say, look, I don't want to deal with that.
So you can pick. It's like I don't want PvP.
Well,
you want a little bit of a little fear, I guess.
We want a little bit of drama there without the without them ruining your game.
Todd Howard does go on to confirm that VATS will be in this game, which is something people were kind of wondering, like, how's VATS going to work? It's an online game, but what happens now is it's in real time. It just doesn't slow time or pause time. So if maybe you're not the best Twitch shooter, as he says, you can opt to use VATS instead, so maybe you raise your character to be good in VATS, like high AP and probably VATS-based perks. You can choose to do that instead of having aim down sights all the time.
A lot of people are wondering, you know, VATS, obviously, in an online environment, how is that going to be accomplished?
Still there.
Okay,
it's real time.
So it's real-time VATS?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I'm not as good at lining up someone and getting a headshot, but I've made my character good at VATS. Oh, and now I can do that.
Something else that Todd elaborates on in this interview is this game being long-term. Obviously, during E3, he said that this game is something we'll be playing for years, which makes sense. It is a multiplayer game. And then once we're playing the game and the players figure out what they do like about the game and what they feel like the game is missing, they plan on constantly doing updates and tweaking this game and adding to it, which sounds kind of promising. Maybe they'll be expanding the map over time. That'd be kind of cool.
Absolutely. You know, with this, there's so much in it. That's the other thing. We always do too much stuff, and there's so much in this game that once we find out here's what the players like, or here's what they're missing and they want. Since we've built a system, our plan is to be adding into the game constantly, tweaking it, and have that, you know, long-term interaction with all of our fans.
And the last big takeaway from this Geoff Keighly interview with Todd Howard is that he confirms there will be mod support for Fallout 76. Obviously, it's not something the game is going to launch with. This is pretty brand new for Bethesda, having a multiplayer game, a game with actual servers and things like that. But sometime down the road, he does see mods coming to the game.
We love mods, and so we are 100% committed to doing that in 76 as well. We will not be able to do that at launch, though.
And I suppose one other takeaway we can do from this interview is, as of right now, Todd Howard is saying there isn't a Fallout 3 remaster on the table. He brings up the Xbox One X, whatever version of Fallout 4 he played in 4K. I don't know that I completely believe this, however, until the October 28th date rolls around and we don't see this actually come out and it passes the 10th anniversary, then I'll believe it.
All right, now it's a big anniversary for Fallout this year as well. Fallout 3 anniversary. You guys gonna celebrate in any way?
The Fallout anniversary? Like a remaster? Is that what you're...
Yeah, so fans want something?
We aren't right now, but you can play Fallout 3 actually on Xbox One. It plays in 4K. It's amazing.
And that's pretty much everything we need to know from this interview about Fallout 76, with a little bit of extra stuff sprinkled in, like kind of where they are in production with Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, and the fact that, at least as of right now, Todd Howard's saying there isn't a Fallout remaster happening. I've probably said it a few times in separate videos, it's not exactly the Fallout I wanted, but I've also wanted a multiplayer Fallout for a very long time, ever since the days of playing Fallout 3. I thought it was a cool concept. I've always wanted to play Fallout with my friends directly in some sort of co-op scenario, so I'm pretty excited anyways. So quite a bit of information in this video, so I'm leaving the rest up to you guys. Let me know in the comments what you think about everything we just talked about. Hopefully you went on to enjoy the video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, turn on my notifications, follow me on Twitter at @TheDashingDavid. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys. Give me a smile, give me forever for a while, give me forever for a while, quit acting like a baby.